Chapter 1: The Royal Encounter. In the heart of the majestic kingdom of Eldoria, where golden towers kissed the sky and lush gardens bloomed in vibrant colors, there lived a young king named Alaric. The kingdom was renowned for its rich history, the resilience of its people, and the prosperity that flowed through its lands. The sun bathed the royal palace in a warm glow, and the shimmering waters of the lake nearby reflected the grandeur of the architecture that defined Eldoria's capital. Alaric, though cloaked in the luxuries of his title, often felt a profound sense of emptiness, a void that wealth and power could not fill. Alaric was known throughout the realm for his bravery and kindness, virtues instilled in him by his late father, a king who ruled with both wisdom and compassion. Under Alaric's reign, the kingdom thrived, and the people adored him. Yet, beneath the polished veneer of his royal life, Alaric yearned for a deeper connection, a longing for something authentic and true. The grand banquets and splendid ceremonies often left him feeling isolated, surrounded by advisors who were more concerned with politics than genuine companionship. One bright morning, feeling suffocated by the constraints of the palace, Alaric donned a simple cloak to disguise himself as a commoner. He mounted his trusted steed, a majestic black stallion named Shadow, and rode into the heart of the village. The anticipation of exploring the bustling market ignited a spark of excitement within him, a taste of freedom that had long eluded him. As he approached the village, the sound of laughter and lively chatter filled the air, mingling with the tantalizing aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from nearby stalls. The village market was a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds. Merchants called out their wares, children dashed between stalls with infectious laughter, and the scent of spices and flowers mingled in a delightful dance. Alaric felt his heart swell as he observed the simple joys of his people. The villagers greeted him with warm smiles, oblivious to the fact that he was their king. He moved among them, exchanging pleasantries and enjoying the little moments that made life in Eldoria so rich. As he wandered deeper into the market, Alaric's gaze fell upon a stall adorned with wildflowers. The vivid colors of the blooms, radiant reds, sunny yellows, and delicate purples, captured his attention. Intrigued, he stepped closer, and it was there that he first saw her, a girl with a cascade of chestnut hair that glimmered in the sunlight, framing her heart-shaped face. Her warm hazel eyes sparkled with joy and mischief, revealing a spirit that seemed unburdened by the weight of the world. "Welcome! Would you like to buy a flower, my lord?" she asked playfully, a hint of teasing in her voice. Unbeknownst to her, she was addressing the very king of the kingdom, a fact that made Alaric chuckle in delight. "I'd like to buy a bouquet," he replied, leaning slightly closer to her stall, "but only if you can tell me their meaning." Her laughter rang out like music, a melodious sound that seemed to pull him deeper into her world. "Ah, a connoisseur of flowers, I see. Very well. This is a marigold, symbolizing passion, and this," she pointed to a delicate bluebell, "represents humility. Each flower has a story, you know." Intrigued, Alaric leaned in, captivated not just by the flowers, but by the enthusiasm that lit up her face as she spoke. Elara had a gift for storytelling, weaving tales of love, friendship, and hope with each bloom she presented. She spoke of the healing powers of lavender, the courage of daisies, and the eternal beauty of roses, her words painting vivid pictures in Alaric's mind. As he listened, Alaric found himself enchanted, not just by the flowers but by Elara herself. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, a breath of fresh air in the rigid formality of royal life. Her genuine laughter and passionate spirit resonated with something deep within him, igniting a longing he had tried to suppress for so long. "I'll take a bouquet of each, then," he said, his heart racing with the thrill of this unexpected connection. Elara's eyes widened in surprise, and then she burst into laughter, the sound lifting his spirits even higher. "You must have a garden of your own. What will you do with so many flowers?" "Perhaps I will gift them to a friend," he replied, "though I doubt anyone would appreciate them as much as I do right now." In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Alaric felt a warmth spreading through him, a sense of belonging that had been missing for far too long. As Elara wrapped the flowers in a simple cloth, she shared snippets of her life, her dreams of becoming a painter, her childhood memories of roaming the fields, and the joy she found in nature. The conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter and shy glances that spoke of a budding connection. As Alaric left the market, bouquet in hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had encountered someone truly special. Elara had opened a door to a world he had long been kept from, reminding him of the simple joys that lay beyond the walls of the palace. Each step he took was filled with anticipation, his heart fluttering with the possibilities of what lay ahead. Days turned into weeks, and Alaric found himself returning to the market regularly, drawn not just to the flowers, but to Elara herself. He would arrive at different times, exploring the stalls, sharing laughter, and enjoying the sense of camaraderie that grew between them. Each visit deepened his feelings, and the more he learned about her, the more he admired her tenacity and spirit. With every encounter, Alaric's heart swelled with a mix of joy and trepidation. He was falling in love with a woman who lived a life so different from his own, yet their souls seemed to resonate on the same frequency. She brought color to his gray world, and with each moment spent in her presence, the void he had felt began to fill with warmth and light. And so, in the heart of the bustling market, amid the laughter and chatter of the villagers, a beautiful love story began to unfold, setting the stage for a journey that would challenge the very fabric of their lives and the kingdom they called home. Alaric knew he had to find a way to bridge the gap between their worlds, for Elara had captured his heart in a way he had never thought possible, igniting a passion within him that would change the course of his life forever. Chapter 2: The Hidden Connection. Days turned into weeks, and Alaric found himself returning to the market more frequently than he could have imagined. Each visit was a delightful escape from the weight of his royal responsibilities, and each encounter with Elara felt like a cherished secret hidden away from the prying eyes of the court. Their bond blossomed with every conversation, weaving a tapestry of shared dreams and laughter that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Elara shared her hopes of becoming a painter, speaking passionately about her desire to capture the beauty of the world around her. "There's so much wonder in nature," she would say, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I want to immortalize those fleeting moments, the way the light filters through the leaves, the colors of the sunset, the expressions of joy on people's faces." Each brushstroke would tell a story. Alaric listened intently, mesmerized not only by her words but by the fire in her spirit. As she spoke, the weight of his crown seemed to fade, leaving only Alaric, the man who craved connection and authenticity. In Elara's presence, he could forget the expectations placed upon him and the looming pressure of his royal duties. He reveled in the simplicity of their time together, the warmth of her laughter, the spark of her creativity, and the way she could find joy in the smallest things. Each visit filled him with a sense of joy he had never known, awakening emotions he had kept buried under the facade of kingship. Yet, as their relationship deepened, Alaric grappled with the reality of their worlds. He was a king destined to marry someone of noble birth to secure alliances and strengthen the kingdom, while Elara was a poor flower seller with dreams of painting the world around her. The chasm between their lives loomed large, and he often found himself tormented by the contradiction of his heart's desire and the duty that came with the crown. One evening, after a particularly delightful afternoon spent wandering the market with Elara, Alaric returned to the palace, his heart heavy with uncertainty. He paced the grand hallways, the echo of his footsteps a reminder of his isolation. He longed to confide in someone, to voice the turmoil swirling within him. Seeking solace, he sought out his closest friend, Sir Cedric, a loyal knight known for his wisdom and unwavering support. As they settled in the quiet of Cedric's chambers, Alaric shared everything: the joy Elara brought into his life, the dreams they had exchanged, and the fear that gnawed at him like a persistent shadow. "I know what is expected of me, Cedric," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I cannot shake the feeling that I am meant for something different. Elara makes me feel alive in a way that no one else ever has." Cedric listened intently, nodding as Alaric spoke. "Your Majesty," he began, choosing his words carefully, "true love knows no boundaries. It defies titles and social status. If you truly believe she is the one, you must pursue it, even if the path is fraught with challenges." "But what of my responsibilities?" "The kingdom needs a queen who can strengthen alliances," Alaric replied, frustration etching his features. "I cannot abandon my duty for a fleeting whim." "Is it a whim?" Cedric countered gently. "You speak of her with such passion, and it is clear she has captured your heart. Sometimes, love requires sacrifice, and sometimes it brings unexpected strength to the burdens we bear. You must decide what kind of king you want to be, one who lives by duty alone or one who seeks to bring happiness to himself and his people." Cedric's words resonated deeply within Alaric. The idea of forging his own path, of choosing love over tradition, stirred something powerful within him. He realized he could not let the expectations of others dictate his happiness. Elara had shown him a glimpse of a life rich with love, creativity, and authenticity, and he craved more than the isolated existence of a king. Emboldened by Cedric's encouragement, Alaric decided that he would reveal his identity to Elara. He wanted to share with her not just who he was but the truth of his heart. He envisioned a future where they could create their own destiny, regardless of the opinions of others. One fateful evening, under a canopy of twinkling stars, Alaric invited Elara to a secluded glen just outside the village. It was a place he had discovered during one of his solitary rides, a serene spot where the sounds of nature mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves. The moonlight danced on the leaves, casting a magical glow over the space, and the air was thick with the sweet scent of wildflowers, reminiscent of Elara's stall in the market. As they sat together, the serenity of the night enveloped them. Alaric's heart raced, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on him. This was not just an ordinary conversation, it was the unveiling of his true self, and he felt vulnerable yet determined. "Elara," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within, "there is something I must confess. I am not just a simple man, I am King Alaric of Eldoria." For a moment, silence reigned as Elara's eyes widened in shock. Her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief as the weight of his words sank in. "You? But why would you choose to spend time with someone like me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because you see me for who I truly am," he replied earnestly, his gaze locking onto hers. "In your presence, I am not a king, I am simply Alaric, a man in love." As the words hung in the air, Alaric watched the myriad of emotions flicker across her face: surprise, fear, confusion, and finally, a glimmer of understanding. Elara's breath caught in her throat, and she looked away for a moment, processing the revelation. Alaric felt a rush of anxiety, uncertain of how she would respond. "Alaric," she finally whispered, the name rolling off her tongue like a delicate melody. "This changes everything. You have a kingdom, duties, expectations." "Yes," he interjected gently, "but I do not want to be defined by them. I want to be with you, to explore this connection we have forged." He reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. "You bring me joy, Elara. You have awakened something within me that I thought was lost forever. I don't want to lose that." Tears glistened in Elara's eyes as she took in his words. "But what would people say? You are a king, and I am just a commoner. This, us, seems impossible." "Love often defies the odds," Alaric urged, his voice filled with conviction. "We may face challenges, but I would rather face them with you by my side than live a life bound by duty alone." In that moment, Elara felt a torrent of emotions crashing over her. She had always dreamed of love, passionate and fierce, yet here was a reality that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The thought of being by Alaric's side filled her with hope, but the fears of society's judgment loomed large. "Can we truly forge a life together, against all odds?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, uncertainty lingering in her heart. "Yes," Alaric replied, his determination unwavering. "Together, we can create a future filled with love, art, and adventure. We can challenge the norms and show the world that true connection knows no bounds." As the stars twinkled overhead, a sense of hope blossomed between them. Alaric and Elara sat in the glen, their hearts beating in unison, aware that the road ahead would not be easy but determined to forge it together. They had taken the first step into a beautiful, uncertain journey, and in each other, they found the strength to face whatever challenges awaited them. That night, as they shared dreams and laughter beneath the stars, Alaric knew he had chosen love, a choice that would shape not only their lives, but the future of Eldoria itself. The hidden connection between a king and a commoner had been unveiled, and together they would face a world that often resisted the very essence of love. Chapter 3: A Love Against All Odds. As the truth of Alaric's identity sank in, Elara's heart swelled with a mixture of emotions: joy, love, and an overwhelming sense of fear. "What will people say?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "You have responsibilities, a kingdom to rule, and I am just a poor girl." The weight of societal expectations pressed heavily on her chest, threatening to suffocate the burgeoning love that had blossomed between them. Alaric took her hands in his grip firm yet gentle. "I would rather face the world's judgment than live without you," he declared, determination etched across his face. "We can find a way to make this work, Elara. Love is worth fighting for." His confidence ignited a flicker of hope within her, yet the uncertainty of their future loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon. The following days were filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Alaric's heart swelled at the thought of their love, yet he could not escape the reality that awaited them. Word of their relationship spread like wildfire through the royal court, igniting a fierce uproar among the nobles. Whispers of discontent echoed in the grand hallways, and the council convened to discuss the implications of their king's unconventional choice. As the court gathered, tension hung thick in the air. The nobles, dressed in their finest attire, voiced their vehement opposition to the idea of Alaric marrying a commoner. "Your Majesty," one lord exclaimed, his voice dripping with disdain, "to marry a mere flower seller would tarnish the royal lineage and undermine the very foundation of our kingdom. You must choose a noble bride at the upcoming royal ball." Heartbroken, but resolute, Alaric knew he could not abandon his love for Elara. He believed in their connection, a bond that transcended societal norms, and he was determined to defend it. That evening, he invited Elara to the royal ball, convinced that he could persuade his court to see the strength of their love. On the night of the ball, the grand hall of the palace was adorned with lavish decorations and sparkling chandeliers that illuminated the room in a warm glow. The scent of blooming roses and sweet pastries wafted through the air, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Alaric stood at the entrance, his heart racing with anticipation as he awaited Elara's arrival. When she finally appeared, dressed in a gown woven from the softest fabric, the moment was surreal. The gown was a delicate shade of cream, complementing her warm hazel eyes and cascading chestnut hair. The elegance of the fabric flowed with her every movement, accentuating the grace she carried within. Alaric's breath caught in his throat as he watched her approach, and he felt an overwhelming sense of pride knowing that this extraordinary woman was by his side. In that moment, all the opulence and extravagance of the royal ball paled in comparison to the beauty he saw in Elara. However, the moment she stepped into the light, a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to her, and whispers erupted like a wildfire. The nobles exchanged incredulous glances, their shock palpable. Elara felt the weight of their scrutiny pressing down on her, and she instinctively clutched Alaric's arm, seeking solace in his presence. "Stay close to me," Alaric murmured, sensing her unease. "You are not alone." With that reassurance, he led her further into the grand hall, their hearts beating in sync despite the chaos around them. Taking a deep breath, Alaric stepped forward, commanding the attention of the crowd. The glittering chandeliers cast a soft light upon him as he addressed his guests, his voice steady and resolute. "Tonight, I stand not just as your king, but as a man in love. Elara is not merely a flower seller, she is the woman who has captured my heart, and I ask you to embrace love over status. I ask you to accept her as my queen." A heavy silence enveloped the hall, and for a moment, it seemed as though hope had vanished. The nobles exchanged skeptical glances, the tension thickening the air. Elara's heart raced in her chest, uncertainty gripping her. Would they truly accept her? Would they allow their love to blossom in a world that had sought to confine them? But then, a brave voice broke through the silence. A young lady from one of the lesser noble houses spoke up. "If our king loves her, then she must be worthy of our respect." Slowly, others began to murmur in agreement, inspired by the sincerity of Alaric's declaration. One by one, the nobles began to sway, and the atmosphere shifted from one of hostility to cautious acceptance. As the whispers turned into applause, a wave of relief washed over Alaric and Elara. Elara realized that love, when genuine and pure, could transcend the barriers of class and expectation. The crowd erupted in applause, accepting their love story as one of unity rather than division. Elara's heart soared with the realization that perhaps this bond they shared was more powerful than the constraints of the world around them. As the night wore on, Alaric and Elara danced together under the shimmering lights, the world around them fading into the background. Their laughter mingled with the music, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. They had forged a path of love against all odds, promising to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. "Look at how far we've come," Elara whispered, her voice barely audible over the enchanting melody. "I never imagined I would be dancing in the royal palace, let alone with the king himself." Alaric smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "You belong here as much as anyone else, Elara. You have brought light into my life, and I want the world to see the beauty you possess." As they twirled together, the warmth of their connection radiated through the hall, captivating all who watched. In that moment, the barriers that had once divided them began to crumble, and the crowd embraced their love as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. With each passing dance, Alaric and Elara vowed to champion a new beginning, where love could flourish free from judgment. They imagined a kingdom where creativity and individuality were celebrated, where the walls of tradition could be dismantled in favor of authenticity. Together, they envisioned a brighter future for Eldoria, one that would reflect the values of compassion and acceptance. As the night drew to a close, Alaric took Elara's hand and raised it high, a gesture of triumph. "To love," he proclaimed, his voice ringing clear, "and to the courage it takes to embrace it." The crowd erupted in cheers, their hearts uniting in the celebration of a love that knew no boundaries. With the echoes of applause fading into the night, Alaric and Elara stood together, hand in hand, gazing out at the sea of faces that had once been filled with skepticism but were now transformed by the power of love. They knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but as they embraced the challenges together, they felt a renewed sense of purpose and strength. And thus, the king and the flower seller united their hearts, proving that true love knows no boundaries and can bloom in the most unexpected places. Their love story would become a legend in Eldoria, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that when love is pursued with courage and conviction, it can change the world. As dawn broke over the kingdom of Eldoria, the sun illuminated the palace, casting a golden glow upon the land. Alaric and Elara stood on the balcony, overlooking the vast expanse of their realm. In that moment, they realized they were no longer just a king and a commoner, they were partners, ready to forge a new path together, guided by love and a shared vision of a brighter future. Their journey had just begun, and with each step they took, they would build a legacy rooted in love, creativity, and unity, one that would inspire generations to come.